Okay, so we're gonna start to move on to the Vikings and the Cowboys. It seems like we always gotta talk about the Cowboys, but they're one of the most relevant teams, so it's just that way. We gotta talk about the Cowboys. Uh, so they lost to the Vikings 28-24, and when you look at how Dak Prescott played, 28 of 46, 397 yards, 8.6 yards per attempt, three touchdowns, one pick. Really shouldn't even count the pick. It was on a Hail Mary. He's just chucking the ball up, trying to give his guys an opportunity to go catch the ball. And Kirk Cousins came up pretty big. Had 23 of 32, 220 yards, two touchdowns. Pretty good QBR. And my main takeaways from this game is because we've talked about the Cowboys before, and you could say, I came out with a video saying that they had found the winning formula last week, and I still don't think that position was wrong because they did find the winning formula. They just weren't able to emulate that winning formula in this game because they got outrushed. I still think that they have to run the football to win the game. But that being said, my takeaways is they need to pay Dak now. And they need
Oh
to pay
Lord.
him in full, and they need to fire Jason Garrett
Oh
because
Lord.
I don't know. No, what happened at the end of the game? Did you watch the game? Because I did, and when I watched the game, I saw a completely fine quarterback, a quarterback that can win you football games and can go out and maybe even win you a championship if you have the right pieces around him. That's what I saw because when you look at how the game was going, Dak was having to win the football game for them because Ezekiel Elliott got shut down. As a team, the Cowboys rushed for only 50 yards. 50. Now, that also brings up the stat that they haven't won a game that Zeke hasn't gone off in, which you could blame that on Dak, and I think part of the blame goes on Dak. But for this game, when you look at this singular game, the blame doesn't go to Dak. All right, Dak came out and performed as he was driving down the field. Excuse me, later in the game, he was hitting darts after darts after darts. And then all of a sudden, what happened? What was the reason that the Cowboys lost and they weren't able to punch it in when they got inside the red zone to go up 31-28 potentially? Can you tell me what happened?
They handed the ball off to Zeke.
Yes. They tried to give the ball to Zeke three times, two on handoffs on
Same
second and
thing.
third down, and then on fourth down they tried to throw the ball to him when he was being covered by one of the best coverage linebackers in the league, which is Eric Kendricks. What is that? You can't tell me that that isn't Jason Garrett. You can't tell me that he didn't make that executive decision to run the football to try and kill the clock. You can't tell me that because Kellen Moore was throwing the ball all over the field. As an offensive coordinator, I don't want to make it sound like he was a quarterback. Obviously, Dak was the quarterback, but he was the one calling the plays. He was getting the ball out to Amari Cooper. He was getting the ball out to Randall Cobb all game. He was coming up with these brilliant passing concepts that were getting these wide receivers open, and then all of a sudden they just decide to run the football. You telling me that's Kellen Moore when all game long he had showed you that he wanted to throw the football? No, that's Jason Garrett. And that is what is holding this team back. I mean, you could look at the defense and say that, oh, the defense didn't play well, which is true. The defense didn't play well. They're definitely underachieving for their talent level with the Wolf Hunter. He looks lost to me. Jalen Smith is super inconsistent, and so is DeMarcus Lawrence with that pass rush along with Robert Quinn. But I think you have to put it on Jason Garrett because I think they would have won that football game if they had just left the ball in Dak's hands and they had kept on throwing the football. And I know you got to be worried about your defense and say, "Oh, we don't want to leave a bunch of time left on the clock so that Kirk Cousins might be able to drive down the field and maybe get a game-time field goal or even a game-winning touchdown." But at the same time, you have to play to win, man. You're not up yet. So you have to be able to say, we just got to score no matter what. I don't care how much time. We still got talent on our defense. They should have just went in and punched it in. Your thoughts?
My thoughts. Um, Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott.
You can't blame Dak
I,
Prescott,
I'm
bro.
not. I'm not gonna blame him. I'm not gonna blame him. He played good. He played good. I mean, but it just goes to show you. I'm gonna bring up the point every time they lose. Every time they lose, it's because Ezekiel Elliott's not having a good game. This date back since he was what, a rookie. No, since that year that Zeke was not there.
But in
Like
this
this, like they,
situation, they could have gotten their first win if they had just left the ball in Dak's hands.
I don't believe so.
You
I
don't
just I
believe
mean
so.
when you go, you got probably the best back in the game. What you need, 6 yards, 7 yards. I would have did the same thing. Although I do believe he should have opened up with the pass just to keep the defense on their heels. I mean, but I mean you have Ezekiel
Man,
Elliott. Although your run game wasn't working,
what
it's
are we
still
talking about, man?
you talking about
No,
Ezekiel
we
Elliott.
no, okay. And as we can see, if you watch the film, if you watch the tape, Ezekiel Elliott is not the same running back that he was. I don't know if he's still in that Cabo shape, man. He's not.
Oh,
He's not. Bro, you can't tell me that you see the same burst that you saw from Ezekiel Elliott earlier in his career. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that.
crazy.
And that, why would you take the ball out of the hot hand, man? Just forget the quarterback. Forget who it is. Just leave it as if the quarterback was a blank name. All right. He's throwing darts all across the field to get you in position to score. Why would you take it out of the hot hand?
Man, I don't care if it was Peyton Manning. If I got Ezekiel Elliott back there, I don't care if he spent 5 years off of football. That may, bro, I don't know. It's just like
You saw what happened when they handed it off. Lost. I mean, it's not all Ezekiel. I don't want to say it's Ezekiel Elliott's fault. It's not all his fault. Obviously, the blocking was not up to par, and also part of the reason was the Vikings did dedicate their defense to stopping their running game. Let's not act like they were in a base defense and they were just getting beat. They weren't. They built that defense in that game to say you're not going to run the football against us and we're going to be able to run the football against you. That was the game plan because it was the Vikings outrushed the Cowboys 153-50 with Dalvin Cook. You got to give Dalvin Cook credit, but it's not all Ezekiel Elliott's fault, to stay on point. But I mean, Dak, you look at Dak, he's putting you in positions to win football games. And so again, with like we talked about in the last topic, with the trend of how you have to pay quarterbacks, he deserves to be paid right now. He deserves
all
to be
right.
paid.
So was Dak Prescott putting them in situations to win against the Saints or against the Packers?
No, well,
Or
no,
what about
not
the
again,
Jets?
not against the Saints. No, he did not, and I don't even think you could say against the Packers. Now he did play better against the Packers. He was eventually able to break through and start scoring, but no, he did not. All right, I'm not gonna say that he's been playing a perfect season, but but he is still a quarterback that can win you football games, and that was shown against the Vikings. And the Vikings have a great defense. All right. So you have to pay him. And you cannot tell me that he is what's holding back the team. Are you really going to sit here and say that Jason Garrett is completely fine and they should keep him as the head coach and that Dak's the problem?
No, 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 no. I do believe Jason Garrett shouldn't be fired, but I still believe Dak Prescott is not the guy that's going to give you a championship. I just don't believe it. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I do agree you should pay him now, or else you're going to be overpaying by 100 million. Because I just don't know. I
Well,
just don't think he.
he's going to get paid that. They're going to have to pay him over 40 million cuz he's got games like this to show for it. He's going to, there are conflicting arguments that the Cowboys trying to use, and they're conflicting with each other, and the arguments don't necessarily make sense because on one hand they're saying, "Oh, Dak's our QB, we want him here. He can win us football games." But then on the other hand, they want to say, "Oh, we want you to take a discount because Ezekiel Elliott's the leader of the team and you're not the leader of the team." Well, that completely contradicts yourself.
Wait,
What are we saying?
is this Dak's last year on his contract, or like can they franchise tag him?
Oh, they could franchise tag him, but I'm pretty sure he goes into free agency next year.
So after next season.
I believe after this season. I could be wrong, but I think that it's either after this season or next season. But they have to get him paid.
Bro, if they don't win this season or next season, bro, they're not paying them at all. If they don't win this season, they're gonna franchise tag them or do whatever they can do to not sign them to a long-term deal. And then if they don't win the season after, bro, it's just over. That dude's gone. He's gone. They're not gonna.
Well, that
I
would
just
be.
don't see.
I think that would be one of the worst mistakes the Cowboys make, because you cannot find quarterbacks that easily. I mean, we see it all the time. We see that people have. There's probably about one or two quarterbacks that come out of every draft, and if that, I mean, some quarterbacks don't even have any elite quarterbacks that come out of it. It's because
Yeah,
even when we thought that the 2017 NFL draft or 2018, depending on how you look at it, after the 17-18 season, we'll say it like that, the NFL draft class with Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and all those cats. We thought that that was going to be a super stacked draft class and that all the QBs were going to be stars and it was going to be easy to find a quarterback. And guess what? Really only one quarterback's having success out of that, and that's Lamar Jackson, the last one that was taken. Baker Mayfield's struggling now. I mean, he had success in his rookie year, but he's struggling now. Sam Darnold has been completely inconsistent and out because of mono. Josh Rosen has fallen off the face of the planet because he got traded to the Miami Dolphins and they're trying to tank. So he's not even with his original team, which was the Arizona Cardinals, who passed him up for Kyler Murray, which looks like that was a good move. And then Josh Allen, he looks like just a running quarterback. He doesn't look like he can throw for a lick. So you really can only find about one or two quarterbacks in every draft class, and then you're not going to find many quarterbacks out there in free agency. So I believe they need to pay Dak now, because if you let Dak leave and you let him walk, you're not going to be able to find another quarterback who can win you football games at the rate that Dak Prescott does, which he does. You can't take that away from him. He has won the second most games to Tom Brady
thanks
in
to
the
Ezekiel
NFL.
Elliott.
So you want to put money on it that if they lose Dak Prescott after this season, which I don't think will happen, I do think they will pay him. But if they don't, and he walks, you're saying that theoretically, by your thought process, the Cowboys should have the exact same success. Is that what
I'll
you're saying?
put it like this: if they lose Dak, they will do better than if they lose Zeke. I'll put it like that, because if they was to lose Zeke, they would be terrible. If they was to lose Dak, they wouldn't be terrible. They'll be an average team. That I'll put it like that. He's not, bro. He's not that much of a difference maker. If you have a top 5 wide receiver, a great O line, and a top 5 back, and a good defense, I can get Sam Darnold to go out there and do what Dak Prescott's doing. He's not that good. I'm sorry.
I think that the Vikings game showed the complete opposite of that. Ezekiel Elliott did not show up. The offensive line did not show up. The wide receivers showed up, obviously, because somebody had to catch the ball. And I think Dak Prescott was producing. I think we got robbed of an opportunity by Jason Garrett to see Dak Prescott go out and win a football game for once without having Zeke's help. I think he was in position to do that. I think it was taken away from him by Jason Garrett. That's just my thoughts. That's just what I believe. I'm not saying that he's a star quarterback, but I believe he deserves to be paid handsomely because of the way that the standard that you have to pay quarterbacks by. And I think he can win you a lot of football games and maybe even a championship. But we're going to move on. So if you like this video, hit the like button. And also, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And also, click the notification bell so you never miss an upload or a stream.